Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I wanted to hop on here because we are doing a recap of this morning's session and just chatting a little bit about when you're wrong but you can still be right, low-hanging fruit objectives, and of course a trade I took this morning but I was too scared to hold on to. So yes, I'm still dealing with these emotions of holding on to trades, but what I'm going to be doing moving forward to combat them, and of course, yeah, just like what was going through my head this morning. So I don't want to make this video too long, so let's hop into the charts. I'll go over everything and then we'll have a little discussion afterwards at the end. So let's start at the daily time frame. All right, so what was going through my mind was we actually had a pretty large new day opening gap right here. So that was interesting to see. Of course, you all know my target is this weekly volume imbalance, but from where we opened this morning to where it is, it's 100 points. So it's a little bit of a distance still. So of course, my first objective would be this sell side liquidity, but in reality, my first objective would be these London lows, which I will get to when we drop down. So obviously I wanted to see sells today, so we're looking for sells in the market. Okay, so we're on the 1 hour chart right now. I kind of like how we broke out of this new week opening gap, traded lower, had this shift in market structure right here. Again, we had this large new day opening gap, so I was like, okay, we'll probably trade into it before we go lower. We also have this opening range gap right here that we could potentially see filled in. But something that I did notice this morning after we opened, we did trade into the opening range gap, but we only got to about 50% of this opening range gap level. So let me just draw it out for you really quick. As you can see, we went up to 50%. So that right there is telling me we'll probably want to go lower, and we're not going to want to trade into that top 50%, hopefully. Plus we already traded into the new day opening gap when the market opened, and yes, I wanted to see these relative equal lows / London lows taken out and traded to. So this was my target on the day, and of course, since we trade into the 50% level of the opening range gap, I wanted to see lower prices. So let's drop down to the 15-minute chart. So we're on the 15 chart now. Again, you can see that the London lows / relative equal lows are pretty relatively equal lows. So that right there shows to me that we are going to want to go and trade lower beneath them. We also took out the buy side liquidity here, taking out these highs, trading into this new day opening gap, not trading above the 50% range. And yeah, I just of course wanted to see lower prices in general, so my bias was lows. We did have news today at 8:30, 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. so we did have a bit of news going on today. So, and that's not always a bad thing, you know, we wanted to see some volatility, you know, some liquidity runs. So essentially, yes, with this information I was like, okay, I'm more biased towards sells. Let's go down to the 5 minutes. So on the 5 minute, we did trade higher. I was watching this 5 minute fair value gap to see if it would support price. Of course, we traded higher, taking out this high at 9:30. So we took out buy side liquidity after the open, which is something we would like to see. We came down, had a bit of consolidation here, but then traded lower once the news hit. Again, my drawn liquidity is these relative equal lows down here, and I want you to watch this low right here. I'll mark it out. So this can be considered buy side or sell side liquidity as well, because there's liquidity underneath lows, buy side liquidity above the highs. So even though there wasn't relative equal lows, we still have sell side liquidity below here, plus these to back up our draw on liquidity. So let's just quickly go down to the 1 minutes. So we traded below this 5-minute fair value gap with the open, came back, taking out this buy side liquidity, some back and forth price movement in here, which is totally fine, had a drop, and then of course 9:57 created this fair value gap, had another drop at 10 o'clock. Now you see this fair value gap right here, this was my entry point because we had yet to take out this low and we're aiming for these relative equal lows down here. So with our draw on liquidity being those London lows / relative equal lows, but we also had sell side liquidity underneath the low right here, we could trust in this fair value gap to want to go short. This fair value gap was formed at 10 a.m. So I waited for it to trade into this price. My fill was actually a really good fill right above here. And then as you can see, we consolidated though, up and down, back and forth, not taking out this low, not taking out this high. So we can still trust in price knowing that it will probably reach for at least these lows right here, this low right here, and then of course this low down here. But as you can see, as soon as we took out this low, we traded higher, taking out my stop loss, trading into this 1 minute fair value gap right here before breaking lower into this one. And then we had a run higher. And then of course now the market is trading lower right here. So we did have a bit of a, let's take out sell side liquidity, buy side liquidity, sell side liquidity, buy side liquidity, and then we're trading back down. So it is a bit of a consolidation day. But what I really wanted to talk about was my trade this morning. So yes, even though we had a really good fill, and yes, eventually after a back and forth movement, we did hit a 5-point TP, which is our low hanging fruit objective, which is what we're aiming for. The market did trade back, take out our stop loss, and then of course go back to where we wanted the draw on liquidity to go, and then came right back up after it took out that sell side liquidity. So of course today is a little bit of a crazy day with the back and forth movement. But personally for me, when I saw the consolidation happen, it gave me, I guess, anxiety, and I got out of the trade right away. I got out of the trade in profit. I think it was like 1.5 points in profit, but I got out of the trade right away because I didn't like the way that the market was moving and why it was taking so long to get to our desired TP. However, as you can see, even though we were wrong about the market, we still traded down into the lows, which would have given us our 5-point TP take profit, right? So I'm still learning to deal with that, but I think moving forward, I'm gonna start adding I always have a stop loss. When I enter into the trade, I do market execution. And then when I exit out of the trade, I do market execution. But I think moving forward, I'd like to start placing a stop loss and then also placing a TP at 5 points. So then this way, if the market does take out the stop loss, that's fine. But at least I'll be holding my trades for its full desired TP, because as you can see here, yes, we had back and forth movement, but we never took out the high. We were always trading below the fair value gap. And then we eventually reached our 5-point take profit. Yes, we didn't reach our 10-point take profit before the market turned on us, but the fact that we were able to hit our low objective hanging fruit of the 5 points without hitting our stop loss, and I had a great fill, I mean, I think it's something I have to work on. So I have to work on my entries, but I also have to work on my exits. And if my exit is 5 points, then I'm gonna be putting a limit order at 5 points. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because today was actually caused me anxiety seeing this back and forth movement here. So moving forward, I will have my stop loss in place, my 5-point take profit in place, and then I'll let the market do what it wants. This way, I'm not letting my emotions get in the way, getting out too early. I'm just letting it, if it's gonna hit my stop loss, that's okay. If it's gonna hit my take profit, that's okay. But I don't want to be in a trade worrying it's gonna hit my stop loss, making sure I get out at the right fill of the 5 points. So moving forward, we're gonna be putting a limit order for our take profit. And of course the stop loss, always have the stop loss. And I'll be putting my stop loss first, and then I'll be putting my order limit for my take profit. But this is just something I wanted to show you guys, because even though we were wrong, we still hit our low objective hanging fruit of a 5-point take profit. And eventually we traded down into this sell side liquidity. I wouldn't be surprised if we did trade down to these London relative equal lows today. But of course, since I had already taken a trade, I don't trade anymore. That's my number one strict rule. 1 trade a day. Hit stop loss or hit TP, we don't trade again. 1 trade a day, max loss 5 points, TP 5 points, and that's just how it is. So because of this, I did not re-enter into the trade. I did not re-enter on any of these entries right here because I had already entered and taken profit. That's my trade, and I'm okay with that. But yes, as you can see, the market was just down, news, came back up. This was actually a really good fill. We traded down slowly into the 5-point take profits, but then just the market's going up, down, up, down. I mean, again, I wouldn't be surprised if we traded down here, but now I'm just watching the markets. I already took a trade. I'm done trading for the day. And so low hanging fruit objective, stop loss in place, and I'm gonna be having my 5-point take profit in place now as well. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you got something from this video, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye now.